what do boundaries have to do with my weight loss journey? A lot, actually. A whole lot. So, and even coping skills, literally going to the basics of like teaching them basic coping skills, because that emotional eating that you're doing, it's because you don't have appropriate coping skills. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure that you adopt appropriate coping skills. And like, even some people have been on weight loss journeys for all of their life, pretty much, right? And a lot of the experiences that they had previously weren't the healthiest for them. So sometimes we need to unpack the fact that you actually have trauma related to your previous weight loss experiences. And you need to work through that trauma before you can move forward and have a positive weight loss experience.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Legacy Speaks. As always, I'm here to bring you another amazing interview with another dope individual. And so today I have Miss Aujile Riley. She is the owner and founder of Eat Clean-ish. We're going to talk about losing weight, her weight loss journey, and the mindset behind that. And so I'm here to introduce you to Aujile Riley. Aujile, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for agreeing to be here. And so we're going to dive right into it. Can you let the people know who you are, a little bit about your brand, and what was the mission behind Eat Clean-ish?
Yes, absolutely. So I am Aujile Riley, as you stated. I am a mindset coach as well as a weight loss counselor. So I essentially help women lose weight from the inside out. So we focus on mindset and we focus on nutrition, because when you focus on that, then you would have the outward results. And I'm all about sustainable weight loss and making sure people could lose weight long term. Because so often, like, you can find anybody to help you lose weight, right? That really isn't hard. But about keeping it off, there's not a lot of places that will teach you specifically how to keep it off. So that's what I'm all about. That's what my mission is about. In terms of a little bit about my story or how the brand came about. So I showed my weight loss journey on Instagram since the very, very beginning. So if you go back on my Instagram and you scroll all the way to the beginning, you will see me at 289 pounds, and I'm 5'4", so I'm not tall. And you'll see me like, listen, y'all, I'm doing this, I'm serious. And, you'll see all of those steps. You'll see all of those missteps. It's all documented. So I went on to lose over 100 pounds, and all of that, like I said, is documented. And people started asking me, like, do you help people? Do you help people? I'm like, no, like, I just know how to help me. Like, I don't know how to help anybody else. And then I became comfortable with that idea and with that thought, and realized that, like, this is something that I can do. I can help women have the same type of results and success that I had by teaching them what I did. So that's how we got here.
Oh, Aujile, I could just ask you 50 million questions off of that one explanation, okay? But I greatly appreciate the fact that you took something that was so personal for you and you turned it into something that can be of help and assistance to somebody else. And obviously with Legacy Speaks, we're all about focusing on the well-being of individuals within the African diaspora, or even individuals who are Black, Indigenous, people of color. And I'm pretty sure there are a number of women out there that are wondering, how in the world do I change my mindset? And so can you please provide some level of tips and strategies on how to lose weight from the inside out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first, we need to understand that, like, the mindset piece is the most important aspect of long-term weight loss. So knowing how to eat, that's great. Knowing what exercises to do, again, that's great. But those do not at all replace the mindset piece. That is what makes all the difference in the world. And that's why I will preach it until my face turns blue. Like, I always talk about mindset. So there's a couple of different things. So one of the things that we need to realize is that this journey doesn't have to be miserable. When we think of weight loss, we automatically think about misery and sweat and pain and, all the negative things that like restriction. Like, these are the things that we automatically would think of when it comes to weight loss, but it doesn't have to be like that. Mm-hmm. That is a narrative that many of us have experienced, but that doesn't mean that that is the only option. So really understanding that this journey, it can be enjoyed. And not only can it be enjoyed, but you should seek to enjoy it. Find the things within the journey that you really get something out of, that really bring you joy and really bring you excitement, and cling to those things. So that's one of my big ones. The other thing is belief. We have to believe in ourselves, because if you do not believe that you can do it, you're not going to. Our abilities are limited by our beliefs. So you have to believe that you are capable. You have to believe that you deserve it, and you have to believe that you're worth it. Right. So these are all mindset concepts. People don't realize that this is mindset. Anytime you're talking about your thoughts, anytime you're talking about your attitude, your beliefs, your approach to things, all of that is mindset related. And those are the exact things that I, tune in on and kind of help people unpack. That's my favorite word, by the way, you'll notice that. But I help people unpack that. I kind of dig into my therapist bag, and I'm not a practicing therapist. I guess I should have mentioned that. So I was a therapist, and I'm not practicing anymore. However, all those student loans and that master's degree says I'm still a therapist, whether I'm practicing or not. So I use those same therapeutic tools to help women get down and dig to see what it is that's holding them back from long-term weight loss.
Oh, Aujile, you didn't have to explain nothing, because I was getting ready to jump into that therapist bag, sis. Okay, because as soon as I read the bio and saw the little Instagram, when you put your information in your Instagram title, I was like, oh yes, we about to get into this. Okay, because there were a number of things that you mentioned in terms of like the structuring and developing a plan. That is extremely important. And even when we were talking about doing things that are enjoyable to you, that way you're pushing aside the misery in relation to exercising. Immediately, I thought about the importance of developing a treatment plan, but not focusing on that treatment plan, so to speak. I feel like oftentimes clinicians, we get so caught up on the treatment plan. Yes, it's a guide on how to do these things, but it doesn't necessarily explain everything or provide a full picture of what we're specifically going to do. So yes, we have our plan, but sometimes we're going to take some detours. Sometimes we're going to utilize this plan to help us figure out what's next for us. But ultimately, it definitely requires some level of self-awareness. I remember I had a business coach a couple of years ago, and I was talking about, I don't like running. I'm not a fan of exercising. Now I'm into exercising because I enjoy strength training. I enjoy like being able to realize, okay, over time, I'm adding weight to the barbell and things of that nature. I'm able to shift up and down. But really what it requires, especially on your weight loss journey, is recognizing that, like, what are the things that I enjoy? What are the things that are going to keep me motivated? What are the things that are going to make me committed to this journey, which is similar to a crisis safety plan. What keeps you going? What gives you meaning to live? So I was like, oh, let's go with the correlations. Let's go. Okay.
Yes. And I did that because it was, so not only does it work, but it was also more comfortable for me, right? Because I know how to be a therapist. That's like who I am. That's like second nature. So then when people are like, could you coach me to lose weight? I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And that imposter syndrome sets in and all those negative thoughts. And I'm like, I can't do that. But then I really sat back and I'm like, yes, you can. Yeah. Like, you absolutely can do this. Yeah. And that changed. I had to shift my own mindset.
Yeah. I think even then, with you realizing your personal experience, it goes back to recognizing that, like, sometimes we have this way of trying to separate these different aspects of ourselves, similar to how individuals like to separate nutrition from working out. And so finding that intersectionality, understanding how stress impacts the body and how specifically for us, that increase in cortisol may add additional weight or can cause us to struggle with losing weight. And so looking at the whole person, appreciating the whole person, working with the whole person, having those tough conversations and negotiating with the whole person. And so I do want to dive into that. How do you help women or just any client in general sit back to look at themselves from the whole person? How does holistic wellness enter into the process of Eat Cleanish?
So that's definitely a part of it, because like you said, everything is kind of intersectional, right? So if you are having a major stress at work, that's going to affect your weight loss journey. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you are having issues within your family that you're not able to resolve, that's going to affect your weight loss journey. So absolutely those outside stresses, but also the actual behaviors that we engage in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like boundaries. Right. So like that's a major thing. You know, people don't realize, like, what do boundaries have to do with my weight loss journey? A lot, actually. A whole lot. You know, so, and even coping skills, you know, literally going to the basics of like teaching them basic coping skills, because that emotional eating that you're doing, it's because you don't have appropriate coping skills.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to make sure that you adopt appropriate coping skills. And like, even some people have been on weight loss journeys for all of their life, pretty much, right? And a lot of the experiences that they had previously weren't the healthiest for them. So sometimes we need to unpack the fact that you actually have trauma related to your previous weight loss experiences. And you need to work through that trauma before you can move forward and have a positive weight loss experience. So like the parallels are just like insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yes, definitely.
This year has been a whirlwind, hasn't it? And I'm pretty sure that you and your business have had to make a number of changes as a result of the pandemic. But I need you to get really present right now. Let's tap into the here and now in this very moment. When was the last time you truly checked in on your team? As a matter of fact, when was the last time that you truly thought about how you and your team are mentally and emotionally navigating through all of the adjustments that are taking place? But guess what? I'm here to help with that. Hi, my name is Sierra Hillsman, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and certified clinical trauma professional. I work with small businesses and corporations by helping their teams explore their presenting concerns. That way we can increase employee engagement and improve productivity overall. This can be done through in-person or online lunch and learn events, corporate workshops, and organizational seminars. Click the link below. That way you can start to learn how to truly invest in the overall mental and emotional wellness of your team.
And even when you're talking about not only utilizing the coping skills or utilizing that skills acquisition piece, immediately I thought about, okay, if you don't have boundaries for other people, there's a good chance that you don't have boundaries for yourself. You're struggling with time management. You're allowing your work to bleed over, which is keeping you from going to the gym or keeping you up at night so you can't go to the gym early in the morning. I'm just speaking from experience, okay? All right. Somebody's out there listening like, she's reading me. Girl, I'm reading myself. Okay.
For real. And even boundaries in terms of telling ourselves no.
Yeah.
Right? Because we feel like I deserve XYZ because, you know, I worked out today, so I deserve to eat this cheesecake. You know, but realizing that like you have to have boundaries with yourself. It's super, super important. Boundaries with yourself, boundaries with other people, because other people will run you rampant if you allow them to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so saying no, like this is my time to work out. This is my time to meal prep, or this is my time to whatever. You know, you have to establish that for yourself.
Yes, taking ownership of those aspects of your life. I know we talked a lot about like saying no to ourselves, or maybe even putting in guardrails and things of that nature. And immediately I thought about that person who is looking at their weight loss journey as being marked by restrictions. And so how do you break through that particular barrier when people look at healthy living as a whole bunch of, I can't eat this, or I can't do that, or I can't hang out with these people? How do you destigmatize or challenge the I can'ts or restrictive ways of thinking?
And that, honestly, that is one of the hardest mindsets to break through, because especially when people have had that experience over and over and over, and they've been literally taught that restriction is how you do it, right? So, but here's the thing, is like restriction is not sustainable. And again, like I said at the beginning, I'm all about long-term weight loss. Like, how can you lose the weight and keep it off and not keep being on this gain, lose cycle? So in order to do that, one of the things that you have to do, one of the things that you have to do is you have to let go of that restriction. You know, you can't say, I can't have. You might choose not to have something, you know, based on maybe how it makes you feel, based on how it makes you look, based on, you know what I mean? So sure, you might choose, but it should be just that. It should be a mindful decision, a mindful, informed decision, not because so-and-so told me I can't eat this, so I can't eat this. Like that doesn't work long-term. It just simply does not.
Yes, keywords mindful and informed, right? So it sounds like you empower your clients to do the research, you hold their hand, you empower them to actively use the power of choice, recognizing that, okay, let's strengthen up your decision-making skills. Yes, we have this 12-week course, but you're going to be very involved throughout this journey every step of the way. And so I greatly appreciate that, because sometimes people go to coaches and even go to therapists or maybe even doctors, and they're like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And oftentimes we as professionals, we have to take a step back and say, hey, no, this is a partnership. You're going to be doing like 60-40 in this thing. Okay. As a matter of fact, you're going to be doing 90% of the work, and I'm just guiding you. I'm the rocks along your river. So thank you for pointing that out and empowering your clients to make active decisions in their journey, because this is their life ultimately.
Absolutely. And I feel like a lot of times in weight loss situations, the control is taken away from you. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to me to make sure that the control is back on my clients, where you have full control of this journey. And just like you said, I'm just directing you. I'm steering you a little bit. I'm saying, you're going a little too far that way. Come back over here. But I in no way am in control of your journey. You are 100% in control of your journey. And when it's done like that, you get information and you get insight that no one can ever take away from you.
Yes, definitely. Now, I know you've been a therapist for 9+ years, so we might get into some clinical stuff as well. Even when we're talking about the concept of control, we have individuals who are struggling with some type of eating disorder, whether it's body dysmorphia, anorexia, bulimia, things of that nature. And at the core of it, in relation to trauma, or maybe even some type of personal experience, they feel as though the only thing that's in their control is their body. The only thing that's in their control is what they put in their body, what they take out of their body, because of what they might have experienced, whether it be physical or sexual or emotional abuse, maybe being bullied or anything like that. And so what is your experience? Have you ever had any clients who was saying, hey, Aujile, I really want to take this to the next level, but I am also struggling with some type of like comorbidity, some mental health concern. How do you address that particular matter when that shows up?
Well, honestly, I direct them to therapy because I'm not practicing, right? Yeah. So as someone who's not practicing, when I see that you need to be involved with the therapist and that's an action you're not taking, I refer you directly to a therapist, because that's not the lane that I'm currently in. Mm-hmm. And it would be a disservice for me to treat somebody or to help somebody with their weight loss if they have some underlying things that are that deep, right? So we do dig, but not to the level of that therapy would. So if it gets that deep, I need you to go see a therapist.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that particular approach. We find that oftentimes when we come across clients that are needing something extra, we try to make ourselves like that one-stop shop. So I greatly appreciate the fact that you are willing to work with other clinicians to be able to get the person to that next level. Shout out to you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Aujile, can you please let the people know a little bit about your 12-week program as well as your coaching services? Because there are a number of people who are saying, hey, yeah, I can work out via YouTube. Yeah, I can read some articles, but I need to know how can I go about this in a different way? Can you please provide some information about your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of my services are virtual, so that's important to know. So my 12-week course, so that will be starting on April 11th. Enrollment is currently open for that. So during those 12 weeks, every single week, it's live, by the way, it's a 12-week live course. So every week we will be meeting via Zoom. And we'll have different lessons. The curriculum is posted on my Instagram if anybody wants to take a look at that. But every week we'll have different lessons. There's also weaved in 3 sessions where it's like an unpack. I told you that's my favorite word. Let's unpack session, where it's pretty much where we get together and people talk about, hey, I was working on this lesson from last week, and this is a struggle that I came up with, or, this is the victory that I'm celebrating and I want to share it with you. Basically just a chance for us to kind of build community. And then in addition to that, kind of get some feedback from one another, because, listen to me talk is great, but that community is really, really important when it comes to your weight loss journey. So like I said, 12 weeks, 3 of those sessions included in that. Also, each week you get homework because, again, I told you I'm a therapist, so I do the homework, y'all. I do the homework. So every week you do get homework, and that's to help you implement, because I want you to not just gain this information and put it in your toolbox for you to use later. I want you to take this information and then go use it. And then next week we can talk about that. And then you go use that. I want it to be an ongoing thing. It is a very small group of women. So I'm only allowing 14 women in. 4 of the seats are already taken. So that's just an update on that. But that's pretty much the course. And it's called the Weight Loss Mindset Makeover. Because that's exactly what we're doing. We're losing weight and we are completely changing and overhauling your mindset. So that's a 12-week course. I do offer one-on-one coaching. One-on-one coaching is mindset coaching. I offer those in packages, starting from 3-month packages, all the way up to 12 months, depending on what you're looking for. And then I also offer master classes, and those are pre-recorded master classes that if you're like, well, I don't know if I want to do anything live or anything like that, I just want to kind of listen to get information about how I can change my mind on this particular topic, then that's what the master classes are all about. And information on all of those can be found on eatcleanish.com.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for that. Speaking of which, I do want to dive into the eating aspect of it all because, honey, the food is the most important part, okay? And going back to like the mindset of restriction, people automatically think about dieting and cutting things out and all that jazz. And so the beautiful thing that I love about your story was you continue to lose weight while still being able to eat the foods that you enjoyed. And so can you please put that into perspective for somebody out there that's just like, girl, you are, you're lying. You're not telling the truth all the way. Okay.
Well, one thing that's important to know is I love food. That's important to know. I love food today. I love food 10 years ago. I love food. So that's something that has never changed for me. I often say to my husband that food is my love language. And he knows that, he messes up, he give me some food, we good. So, but I love food. So because I love food, I had to figure out, again, we're talking about sustainability. So I had to figure out how is it that I can eat where my body is getting what it needs, but at the same time, my taste buds are also getting what they think they need, So I am really good at making healthy food look and taste fat. I'm really, really good at that. So I do that a lot with my healthy food. But in addition to that, eating cleanish is basically like, your 80% of your food is clean. So it's your grains, your meat, your basically foods that occur naturally, or from, plants or animals, basically. So 80% of my food is clean. And then 20% of it is ish. And when I say ish, I mean, it's whatever. It could apple fritters, donuts, whatever, whatever my heart, desires. Now, again, that for me, it's not an everyday. It's not every day I do 80-20. Or I should say, it's not every day that my 20% is that drastic is what I should say. So, sometimes it could just be, I wanted I don't know, something that's not terrible. Like I wanted a hamburger with the bun or something, something like that. But I absolutely do eat. I eat carbs. That's really important for me to say. I eat carbs because people automatically assume that I do keto. I do not do keto. This is not keto. This is balanced eating. We eat from every single food group. But again, it's just within moderation. You're picking and choosing which food groups you're eating from. You're picking and choosing when you're eating the sugar, when you're avoiding the sugar. It's all about being mindful eating.
Yes, even with the concept of mindfulness, it's challenging you to build a relationship with your body. And so I'm pretty sure there are a number of dynamics that you incorporate as well, when you're talking about body type, or maybe even your family history, or thinking about the changes that you've made in terms of like medication and your physical mobility. So I'm pretty sure you also incorporate those things as well.
Yeah. And the mobility is another big thing, because I think a lot of people don't, when people think about weight loss, they just think about the number going down on the scale, but they don't think about the difference in your mobility and how you're able to move and how you're able to operate so much better. And that's another one of my big mindset concepts is acknowledging your progress. Like, and all progress counts. All progress counts. So I don't care if it was, yesterday I couldn't bend over to tie my shoes and today I could. We're celebrating that. We are absolutely celebrating that. So mobility is huge, huge. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for even reminding me about the concept of like celebrating those small wins, because oftentimes when we have these goals, yes, they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. But we also need to incorporate some way of making sure that we keep self-compassion at the forefront. Oftentimes when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we struggle with seeing or maybe even acknowledging and identifying the things that are valuable in not only our personalities on the inside, but also on the outside as well. So having that self-compassion, practicing that self-kindness, making sure that you're not comparing yourself to other people, especially when you're providing like that group session, that community session as well. So I think it's very important to be mindful of all of that, learning to widen the scope a bit, because oftentimes when we have a problem, we have a tendency of only looking at what's right in front of us. So thank you so much for widening the scope and including mobility as well.
Absolutely. And what you just said just reminded me of another one of my mindset mantras, which is grace over guilt. Mm-hmm. How often do we're like, oh, I shouldn't have ate that. And then we feel guilty. Then we eat something else. Then we feel guilty. And it becomes a spiral. Mm-hmm. But if you give yourself grace, like, oh, I ate that. So now I'm going to be mindful, right? I'm going to be self-reflective and realize that like, oh, I didn't really like that decision that I made. So I'm just going to not make it again and give yourself grace and move on.
Definitely. Oh, that is grace over guilt. That needs to be on a shirt. Okay, y'all don't be stealing her ideas now.
Right. Let me put it on the shirt first, y'all. Don't do it first.
Listen, go ahead and get that trademark as soon as possible.
I need to.
The cycle of guilt, because guilt tells us that we did something bad and shame tells us that we are bad. And so learning to combat that by taking some time to just sit back and be like, hey, what coping skills can I utilize? Maybe even incorporating some type of eating journal. How did this make me feel when I ate it? Or how did my body respond to this when I ate this particular thing? That way, you're increasing your awareness along your journey. And then when everything's done, you can look back and be like, wow, I won't do that again. Or, wow, this is cool. I'll do it again. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And eating journals is actually one of the tools that I incorporate a lot with people, a lot.
Absolutely. So Aujile, can you let the people know a little bit about where they can find you, whether it be social media, your website, and then also reiterate your services as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is my home. I'm on Instagram every single day. So that is where you can definitely find me. Journey to Wonderland is my handle on Instagram. And that's Journey, the number 2, and then Wonderland. And there's no A in LND. So yeah. But anyway, so that's my Instagram. Also, my website is eatcleanish.com. So just what you see behind me and just add the .com. There's no dash in it. So eatcleanish.com. And then in terms of my services, I do offer one-on-one services. I do offer master classes. Again, information about those are available on my site. And then I also am now offering this 12-week course that will be starting in April, and enrollment for that is open now. And it will be done once it's filled. And like I said, there's 4 out of 14 are already inside.
And depending on when you listen to this, she's always going to have this course, y'all. So just tap in and make sure you follow her so that if you do happen to miss registration, you can go in and you could catch the next train. Okay. So don't forget that as well. But Aujile, as always, I always have this question before I let people go, right? So the podcast is called Legacy Speaks. And so when you think about your particular legacy, what would you like your legacy to say about you?
That is a heavy question, girl. That is heavy. Wow. Legacy. Because I've been thinking a lot about legacy lately. The legacy that I want to leave behind is I want I want to be known as the person that, with open arms, helps women become, not just lose weight, but become the person who they want to be. That is what I want to be known for. I want to be known for helping women get to the level in which they never dreamed that they could get to, and really become their best selves. Like that. And for that for me to be a part of that transformation, whether it's publicly or not, that I'm not worried about. But for me to just know that I was a part of that transformation, that would be exactly what God told me to do.
Oh, that is so heavy. Oh, thank you for that intentionality. Immediately, I thought about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how like food and even physical activity, those are your basic needs. And then in the center, you have your psychological needs. And so that's feeling esteemable, like feeling good about yourself. And then also having like this level of belongingness and connectedness. So building the relationships. And then towards all of that, it all leads up to self-actualization. And so it sounds like that's what you're doing through the services that you provide, through operating in passion and purpose. You're just helping people just rise to the top, girl. And so I absolutely love it. Absolutely. So y'all, please make sure that y'all tap into Aujile through Journey to Wonderland on Instagram. And then also head over to her website at eatcleanish.com. You'll be able to see all of that information in the show notes, as well as in the description box on not only YouTube, but also in the podcast as well. So speaking of the podcast, once again, my name is Sierra Hillsman, licensed professional counselor, founder of Legacy Speaks. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit that review button. Make sure you leave a review if you thoroughly enjoyed this particular episode. And once again, thank you so much for tapping into the Legacy Speaks podcast. Stay connected via Legacy SBKS on everything. Until next time.